Sansa's storyline in the first book foreshadows the doom of both the Starks and the Tullys, simply for the fact that they don't have family loyalty. This is not only a Sansa problem, but it is in everyone in both houses. One of the most known quotes in A Game of Thrones is Ned's speech to Arya. When the snows fall and the white winds blow, the lone wolf dies, but the pack survive. The Tully words also show the importance of family. Family, duty, honor. However, words are wind, and except in empty words, no one in both houses care about family. Both families teaches their children to either be lone wolves or in factions. The story gives multiple examples of great houses that got destroyed because of infighting, like the Lannisters, Baratheons, and Freys. Part 1. The Tullys. We see House Tully fighting with the Blackfish until his death because the Blackfish won't let him choose his wife. Hoster taught this to his children, and in turn, Catelyn taught it to hers. Lysa is the arya of her generation. She is the younger, less attractive daughter, and she suffered all of her life because of her family. She was tricked into drinking the tansy tea, and then was sold to a man older than her father. Catelyn didn't think that Lysa's marriage was bad. However, she is comparing her marriage to Ned to Lysa's marriage with a man older than her father. Also, Edmure didn't have to wed anyone until the Red Wedding. Lysa is the only one who had a bad match. And just like Arya, everyone is comparing her with her sister and keep looking down on her for it. When Catelyn talked to the Blackfish in the Vale, he said that Lysa can't rule alone, but Catelyn can. He's also annoyed that Lysa wants to choose her own husband instead of wedding a man she doesn't like. And Catelyn thinks that her sister won't wed any of her matches. Cat herself didn't think of getting remarried after Ned, and no one told her she should. Everyone in the story keep hyping out Cat, yet no one calls her out for not warning Riverrun when she kidnapped Tyrion, even though she knew the Lannisters will attack Riverrun. The Blackfish sent a message to warn Riverrun after Catelyn reached the Vale. When Catelyn reached the Vale, she expected family loyalty. She wanted to drag the Arryns to a war she started. All the while, she kept judging and questioning Lysa, to her face and in front of everyone. So much so that the Maester approached her to talk about how Arryn is weak because of his mother. And why won't he? On her way to the Vale, Sir Donald told her her sister is scared of shadows. When he apologized to Cat, she told him frank talk don't offend her. Now, she cares about the Lord's opinion when it's about her son. She didn't send Robb back to Winterfell because she knew no one will follow a weak man. This conversation with the Maester led Catelyn to think that Arryn need to be taken away from his mother. Ignoring the fact that the worst mother in the story is judging Lysa for being a bad mother, when Ned wanted to take Bran with him to King's Landing, she tried to fight him to keep her son. Also, Cat is wrong. Lysa being a bad mother has nothing to do with Robb's sickness. Arryn has no other siblings. Everyone is waiting for him to die or want to use him as a political hostage, which are things Catelyn knew but never thought of. When it's about Lysa, Cat is judgmental and ignorant. She went to the Vale wanting to get everything without giving Lysa anything. The last Tully is Edmure. He is the heir, so he wants his family to be strong for his own sake. He didn't tell his sisters that their father is dying. Let's go back a bit. The Stark-Lannister war only started because Catelyn kidnapped Tyrion, Ned was executed, and Robbart was killed by a boar. No one could have guessed any of these things would happen. Robbart is not an old man, and the Tullys helped give him his crown. Ned against the hand of the king. Before him, Jon Arryn. Both men are wed to his sisters. Yet Edmure didn't send a message. He feared Riverrun looking weak in war. He couldn't trust a bird and didn't want to send a rider because a man might get caught. At that time, there were no enemy forces between Riverrun, Winterfell, and the Vale. The truth is, he had no reason not to tell them. Yet, he only sent a message to Lysa after Catelyn reached Riverrun, in the middle of a war. And then he was mad, because she didn't even send a message to say goodbye. Lastly, let's remember, he didn't have Lysa's choice to stay out of the war. The Lannisters attacked his land first, and the Starks came down wanting revenge. He was stuck in the middle. He ignored his commands in the middle of war because he was jealous and wanted to fight for glory. Part 2. In comparison to the Tullys, the Starks look like a unified family. However, they are not. House Stark is filled with infighting and mistrust. They are more likable than the Tullys, so people are less harsh on them. Rickard Stark had southern ambitions. This is why he wanted to wed Brandon to Cat, and why he sent Ned to the Vale. At the Vale, Ned and Robbart became so close they wanted to be brothers, which is why Robbart wanted to wed Lyanna. Robbart and Lyanna's marriage was made because Ned wanted to be Robbart's brother, even though Lyanna was unhappy with it. It is the same reason Robbart wanted to wed Joffrey to Sansa. Sansa's match to Joffrey was bad from the start, because when Robbart told Ned he wanted Sansa to wed Joffrey, Ned was shocked. Sansa is too young. Catelyn is the one who got him to accept it. In this, Ned shows that he loved Robbart more than Lyanna, just like Ned loved Robbart more than Sansa. There might also be bad blood between Benjen and Ned. All of Ned's objections to Jon taking the Black, Jon is too young, he has no children, and don't know what he will be given up, applies to Ben, but even more. Ben is a trueborn, unlike Jon. The fact that Ned was forced to send Jon to the wall means he wouldn't accept Ben taking the Black without a reason. Yet neither Ned nor Ben talk about why Ben went to the wall. Part 3. In the first book, everyone in House Stark take a mental journey from point A to point B, except Cat and Ned. They start at point A, make a detour, and go back to point A. The Stark story are Robb, the noble boy who has to grow up before his time, for his family's safety and honor. Jon, the unwanted bastard who has to accept that he has no place with his family. He needs to find a new sort of family, away from the one he left. Bran, the broken boy who has to sit and see everyone leaving him behind, struggling with the fact that he will never do any of his dreams. Sansa, the sheltered princess who only knows and do what she's being told without a question. Her struggle is to learn that the world is more than what she's being told, and to let people see her as an equal. Arya, the youngest daughter, her story is being compared to someone else, and she always fails in comparison. So she rebels against everything she is expected to do. Her struggle is to find her own thing, away from the girls she is being compared to. Rickon, he is the confused little boy, being abandoned by everyone, scared and alone, all the while not knowing what is going on. His story is fear, anger, and confusion. Ned, the noble lord who thinks his shit don't stink. His loyalty to his friend makes him ignore all the red flags, which will lead to his death. Cat, the highborn lady who never had to deal with the consequences of her actions, so she never considers how her actions will affect others, and she is distrustful of her husband's bastard. Ned and Cat's actions and the way they raised their children turned everyone into factions that at best don't care about each other and at worst hate each other. Starting with the bastard, on his own, Jon is not a problem for his kin. However, Jon's existing in Winterfell and treating him differently told everyone that there are factions in the family. Jon and Robb. In Bran's chapters, we see how much Robb loved Jon and how much Jon taking the black affected him. However, that is not what Jon sees. Ever since leaving Winterfell, Jon only sees people who hate the Starks or want him to stop identifying with them. Everyone keep reminding him he's a Snow, not a Stark. The Starks sent him to the wall to get rid of him. When Jon learned he will be a steward, he wanted to leave the wall. Yet he went back and gave his vows after accepting that he has nowhere else to go. Winterfell will never be his home again. At this time in the story, Jon only sees Cat as the one who don't want him. However, after Jon learned about Ned's execution, he decided to desert the Night's Watch. Throughout the way, Jon goes through a mental journey about Robb. It starts with him trying to imagine Robb smiling to see him, and ends with him thinking he will not deny a hard truth, and stop thinking about would Robb execute him. At the end of the first book, Jon accepts Tyrion's statement to be fact. Why won't Robb love him? Robb will get Winterfell and Jon the Wall. Which is not surprising. Jon went to the Wall, angry and feeling betrayed. He spent most of a year with Aemon Targaryen and the Targaryen loyalists. All of them hate the Starks. The point is, it doesn't matter how much Robb and Jon loved each other. The moment Jon left Winterfell, Jon actually changed. He grew resentful and hateful toward Robb. Robb and his siblings. Robb feels sad for Bran and don't like Rickon clinging to him. But the problem with Robb is his sisters and how he was told his whole life that women are not important. This led him to do his biggest mistake as a king, which is not ransoming Jaime for his sisters. Robb didn't see the importance of getting his sisters back because he was raised by Ned and Catelyn, two people who has no understanding of politics. Women are really important to take over someone else's lands. When Aegon the Conqueror killed the Storm King, he wed one of his men to his daughter. Randyll Tarly wed his son to Elinor Mouton to take over Maidenpool. The Lannisters tried to take over the Dairylands in the same way, and the Frey sent an army with Fat Walda north. When Tywin learned about Jaime's capture, Sir Adam Marband said no one will ransom Jaime for 2 girls. But he had a good reason to say that. He didn't want Tywin to ransom the 2 unwed girls with a claim to Winterfell, especially knowing that Bran can't have children and Rickon is a child. There is also Robb's reaction to Sansa's message. Robb immediately questioned her loyalty, and Bran told him she lost her wolf as a way to say she lost her starkness. Robb got the message in Winterfell, with a maester who knew she's an 11-year-old girl, alone with the people who killed their man and imprisoned her father. The maester should have told him, at best, she's a hostage, and at worst, she doesn't understand. Bran and his siblings. Bran's opinion about his family is the same as Robb. He likes his brothers and immediately questioned Sansa's loyalty. Rickon. In the first book, Rickon is being abandoned by everyone. His whole family left him behind, except Bran, who can't walk. He reacts to this by being scared and violent, and he got punished for being violent. He has no reason to trust or love anyone in his family. Part 4. The Stark Girls. Unlike other northern women, Sansa and Arya have been raised by a Septa, who has extreme power over them. This power the Stark gave her is the biggest reason House Stark was doomed from the start. Across the first book, we see the Septa trying to install beliefs from the 7 in the girls. Mostly, but not limited to, how a lady should act, and where her duty and loyalty lies. Across the story, we see her discourage the girl's connection to Jon. The most obvious example of this, when Jon was going to the wall, and Arya was not allowed to say goodbye to him because she didn't fold her clothes correctly. On first read, this might not look bad, but Jon is going to the wall, where he will stay for the rest of his life, while Arya is going south, where she might wed a southern lord. In other words, the Starks assumed that Arya will not see Jon for years, if not the rest of her life. Yet she was not allowed to say goodbye to him because she didn't fold her clothes correctly. At this time, Ned was focused on the king and getting everything ready to go south, and Cat on Bran after his fall, which means the Septa is the only one who has the power to make this decision. Another example is Sansa calling Jon her bastard brother ever since she was old enough to understand what it meant. We know this is the Septa's influence because Cat don't have any influence on how Sansa talk or think. Throughout all of the first book, Sansa talked to her mother only once, when she went to her mother to ask if Arya is her real sister. She only believed catelyn because she couldn't see why would her mother lie about this. We can understand why would the Septa do this to Jon. After all, she worships the Seven. She believes that bastards are born from lust and disloyalty. They have bad blood. So, it is not weird that the Septa will try to devalue Jon or separate him from the girls. In the story, it is not a bad thing to talk to bastards badly. However, most lords don't raise their bastards with the trueborn. The Septa made Sansa look down on Jon, told her he's not her brother, all the while treating him just like her trueborn brothers. This leads to bad blood between Arya and Sansa, ever since Arya's first chapter. We don't know what the other Starks think of Sansa calling Jon a bastard, because Sansa don't spend time with them. Part 5. At the end of the first book, Sansa goes to Cersei and tells her about Ned's plans. Unlike other characters, no one defends her actions. So, let's go through Sansa's chapters and some of Arya's to see, can we make a defense for Sansa? Arya 1. The Septa humiliate Arya in front of everyone. When Arya runs away from her, Cat listened to the Septa, not Arya. Arya 2. Ned not only knows nothing about his daughters, but he don't care enough to learn. He didn't want the hand's tourney, so he didn't want Sansa to go to it, even if she wanted. He only let her go because it would look weird if she wasn't there. Ned tells the girls to stop fighting, but he didn't do anything that actually stopped it. He expected them to do what he wanted, without explaining anything. Sansa 1. The Septa tried to get Sansa to stop feeding Lady. This goes directly against what Ned told her she can do. This is the only time Sansa actually stopped the Septa. The Septa sent Sansa to do her errands, like telling Arya to look good for the queen. Ned tells Arya to do what the Septa want, but he also supports her when she don't. Ned is really inconsistent with what he wants the girls to do. Cat thinks it funny that Sansa would think Arya might not be her sister. Sansa 2. The Septa tells Sansa the men who ride for Winterfell look like beggars. Sansa can't drink wine without the Septa's approval, even when the Crown Prince gave it to her. Sansa 3. Sansa and Arya fight, and she say they should have killed Arya instead of Lady. No one tells Sansa why this is bad. When Ned talked to them, he didn't care that one of his daughters said she wanted her sister to die, the one who was going to wed the king. Ned just told them he's sick of them fighting. Ned only decides to end Sansa's betrothal to Joffrey after Jaime killed his men. The septa tells Sansa to stop crying about not wedding Joffrey without explaining what's going on. Let's really look at what Ned have done in this chapter. The fact that this fight happened and Ned ignored that Sansa wanted to kill Arya is really telling. Ned didn't think that Sansa would ever have power, so he didn't care. In most of the first book, Ned was alone with the girls, watching them slowly growing hateful and malicious against each other, until a small fight turned into them wanting to kill each other. Sansa said that they should have killed Arya instead of Lady. When Ned found Arya with Needle, he asked her if she was planning to kill Sansa or the septa. Ned gave Arya a speech about wolves that didn't even convince a child, and not even that to Sansa. Ned allowed Arya to keep Needle and got her Syria, because even he knew Arya left alone will kill Sansa or get herself killed. Ned wanted to end Sansa's betrothal to Joffrey after Jaime killed his men, not after the Trident, where even he was worried if the Lannisters caught Arya first, they could hurt or kill her. Part 6. Sansa Stark was an 11-year-old girl who was promised to be the queen. Her life would be a magical story filled with songs and heroes, as long as she do what her father and the septa want her to do. For a whole year, she did what they wanted. They even killed Lady. And then they wanted to take away everything without explaining why. She was raised in a place where even the king can't end his betrothal to the daughter of a man who tried to steal his throne. The septa taught her whole life that in the god's eye, a lady's duty and loyalty is to her husband and children first. So, was it surprising that Sansa went to the queen and told her about Ned's plans? No. She was raised to do that, to be loyal to the man she was promised to, not her family.